St. Lawrence Borough Council to order. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Robert J. President is absent. Eric is here. Steve Michael Benjamin. Absent. Michael Fritz.
Here.
Steve Drywood.
Here.
Warren Lubenow.
Here.
Gregory Zawilla. Here. Barry Kinsey. Here. Joan London.
Here.
Allison Weinbach.
Here.
Ty Weinweber.
Here.
Derek Rhodes.
Here.
I'm missing, but I'm here. He's taking the notes, so she can't be missing.
All right. An opportunity to review the minutes for the September 9th meeting. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions?
I'll move we accept them as presented. Second.
Moving second, accept the minutes from September 9th as presented. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Guys have it so ordered. We have approval and payment of bills. Following expenditures as of October 12th from the general fund, $71,359.43. From the sewer fund, $98,265.80. And from liquid fuels, $5,862.13. We have a motion to approve payment of the bills as presented, or any questions? Moving second to approve payment of the bills as presented. All those in favor give the consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Guys have it so ordered. Approval of treasurer's report. Having in front of the treasurer's report showing total fund and general fund accounts $541,535.49. Reserve account $77,135.77. Fire tax fund $8,798.87. Sewer fund $319,115.81. And liquid fuel accounts $279,617.16. And on the reverse side, you'll see down at the bottom, the 3209 Old Turnpike Road escrow account was $15,172.50. Entertain a motion to approve the report and file for it.
Oh, so moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, give consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Guys have it so ordered. Any presentations? Okay. All right. Public comment. Wish to address council?
Yes, I do.
All right, please go ahead, state your name and your address.
My name is Gene Becker and I live at 332 Parkview Road. The reason I'm here tonight is, and I saw it on the agenda, that you'll have a discussion in reference to ordinance 388. St. Lawrence Borough, and that has to do with burning, outside burning. Since this ordinance was enacted, I think in 2008, that was a time when fire pits were just kind of coming into play. Mr. Lubenow knows what I'm coming to here because my wife had a discussion with him. So I'm going to cut to the chase and tell you the situation that occurred. A neighbor of mine has a fire pit that they built out of landscape blocks. And on September the 10th, they had a fire and they were out and everything. And it got to the point where it was smoldering and I mean, it really stank, but that's okay, However, in the morning of September 11th, got up, this fire was still smoldering. And there was nobody around. My wife wanted me to call the fire department. I said, no, let me go talk to the people first. I went down, knocked on the door, and nobody was there. So then in turn, I did call the fire company, tell them it was a non-emergency, just to let them know that there was a fire pit and it was still smoldering. Well, they sent 2 trucks out and walked up, and the fire company, they looked around. Guy went over to the pit, he said it was hot, and there was a bucket of water there, which he poured on to extinguish the fire. That night, another fire was made in the fire pit. When it was made, I don't know exactly when it was made, but I do know that around 10 o'clock, I had some company that was leaving, went outside to say goodbye to them, and I could see the flames, no exaggeration, at least this high coming out of the fire pit. The fire pit was unattended by anybody. It also sits at the very edge of the woods.
Hmm.
And I'm concerned that there's 6 acres of woods behind me. I've lived here now for 35 years, and I have a lot invested in my home. But again, there was no one there. All right, and the house was completely dark. So I did not call 911, I called county dispatch again, saying that it was not an emergency, but there was an unattended fire at the address. Within about 15 minutes, people showed up. I didn't know who they were at first, but I saw flashlights as they came up the driveway, went back to the fire pit, which again, the flames were still this high, nobody around. And then I heard there was some conversation because they must have knocked on the door or whatever. Found out later that it actually was the police. Knocked on the door and had some discussion with the people there. And then the police left. The fire was not put out. It still continued to run. Okay. A little after midnight, my wife got a text message on her phone from the neighbor, rather scathing message. It started out, ha ha ha, the fire's out now, and went into some verbiage about they're entitled to have a fire and enjoy the fire anytime they want to. That the husband is a veteran of Afghanistan and whatever. But then also there we were accused of being the Taliban, and that would cause him to have flashbacks or whatever it might be. Okay, and I'm sorry that that happened. I'm sorry that the police handled it that way. Because first of all, when I made my call, they asked for my name, I gave my name. How my neighbor found out I was the one that called, I can only assume the police gave my name. And that really irritates me because they're not supposed to do that. I can't prove that that's how it happened, but no one else did anything, it was me. But they did leave and the fire was not put out. When they actually went out and put out the fire, I don't know. My concern is not so much what happened there. My concern now is there's an open fire pit. Could be anybody's fire pit. No spark arrestor, and no hose. I don't know if there's a bucket there. And I think the ordinance really has to be looked at and some changes have to be made for the safety of all. Because fire pits now are very popular where you're burning natural wood. But, you know, without having any kind of safety precautions, especially in my case where someone left it twice unattended, the second time to a rather large flame. I hate to see, I mean, you read about what happens in California. I don't want to see that happen here in St. Lawrence. That's why I'm here.
Okay, well, I can give you some good news. Since that occurred, Allison, our borough manager, has been working on revising that burn ordinance to cover the situations that you outlined. And it's
Replacing.
we're replacing it. It will be a completely new ordinance addressing all those concerns and very clearly defining what we expect of the police department and, if needed, the fire department, if the police department requests their assistance in extinguishing such fires. But I share your concern as a longtime firefighter in the area. I apologize for the response you got from, with the police department. That's also been addressed with the police chief.
Okay, that's good.
If I may ask, who accused who of being Taliban?
Accused us of being the Taliban for spying on them. Okay, and the flashlights, as the police came up the driveway, caused them concern and fear. And they were saying that, luckily their kids were already in bed or just getting ready for bed. Well, it's 10 o'clock at night, a large flame, and there's no one around.
So these are younger folks?
Yeah, younger than I am.
Not to kind of pry you, but did you have a good rapport with your neighbors up until this point? Because you mentioned your wife got a text message from a neighbor.
Well, see what happened 2 years ago. I know how she got her phone number. 2 years ago, we had one of those big doll playhouses on our back deck, and my grandchildren were too big for it. So we offered it to them if they wanted it for their kids, because their kids are small. And she said she would check with her husband and then get back to us. So that's how she got her phone, or my wife's cell phone number. As far as the rapport with them, I never had anything pretty much where I'm at, I'm a little more isolated than most people. And it's not like when you hang out in the yard, you see your neighbors. So if I've had a conversation with them in the time that they lived there for 5 minutes or so, that might even be an exaggeration. But there's no, there were no hard feelings between me and my neighbor. But I was concerned, especially the driveways were coming down.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's why. Oh, I forgot. I did get the ordinance because it came down and I talked to people in the office and they ran the ordinance off for me so I could look at it.
Mhm.
So we do not know what, if anything, the exchange between the police department and the homeowner was.
Do not. I talked to the chief. And I don't know that they tell me anyway.
You said the first time you knocked on the door, they were knocking.
That's right. That was the morning.
That's, I was assuming, well, maybe they assumed it was you because you knocked on their door.
No. The first time nobody was there and it was a smoldering thing.
Sure.
The second time, it was very high flames still going on and everybody was to their own admission in their text messages.
And I'll echo what the
Yeah.
vice president said. I can appreciate it as being a member of the fire department as well. And I might suggest, if it hopefully it doesn't ever happen again, but if it does, maybe call 911. We always have a duty officer on, he'll get there first.
Mhm.
And, he'll direct the crew or whatever needs to be done from there.
I guess, and one of the big things I didn't understand is why the police left, because I was out in my garage. And why they left, and there was no movement to go put the fire out. So exactly when they put it out, I don't know. Because like I said, it was around 10 o'clock when they arrived there. And this text message came in at 12.
I think that quite possibly they may have thought, might have thought it was not a police matter.
That part will be taken care of in the ordinance as well.
Probably, but no teeth in the ordinance to do anything.
It's, the new ordinance addresses everything and more.
That's good to hear.
And gives very particular language for who has jurisdiction, who can speak to them about what is going on, which happens to be the police, the fire department, code enforcement here, which we're not gonna get called out at 10 o'clock at night, more than likely. It's gonna be the police or the fire department, but it clearly will have the language in there. Plus, I call it a hold your hand ordinance. It spells out everything that you have to do to have this fire. To an adult that has to stay within 15 feet of the fire while it's burning and not be under the influence of anything. Having something there to extinguish the fire, what they're allowed to burn in the fire pit. Spark arrestor required, everything.
Well, like I said, my intention was never to have anybody get into trouble.
Sure, I understand.
And the first time I did one, I did go down and knock, of course, there was nobody home. And the second time when it was just left burning,
Have you tried that part of the communication with the neighbor, reasoning?
I've had no communications with them. After that text message, I wasn't going to
Fishing
allow
for common
myself
sense.
to talk to them after all. Being accused of being Taliban is not something I
Yeah, it's pretty steep.
would be proud of. And I appreciate your service to our country, and I can understand how that would be upsetting for him. But the same token, having a fire like that is pretty upsetting to me and my property too.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time to kind of look over our ordinance on that because times have changed since 2008 as far as especially fire pits. Fire pits were not as popular at that time. Now you see them in any sporting goods store, any landscaping. You see them as part of decoration, so.
Outdoor fireplaces,
Yeah.
fire pits.
The current ordinance, does it require a spark arrestor?
Yes.
So
Yes,
They were at that point in violation.
they were.
Yes.
But then you also have to make sure that the police have all the ordinances in hand, know what to look for.
And we're just gonna try and make it a whole lot easier to
Like any unattended fire pits will be extinguished by the fire department.
Where, as far as the timeline, the ordinance should be finished up
They'll be ready for review by council
Next
next
month.
month.
and then we have to
And then
advertise it.
Joan has to review it,
You know, reviewed by the solicitor, then we have to advertise it. And
so
then
December is the target.
The target.
Okay, and then how is that new regulations disseminated to the community, to
Newsletter,
the newsletter?
newsletter, and it's also will be put on the website.
Okay.
The ordinances are available on the website, and we will obviously pass on the ordinance information to the police department. and the fire
and mail one
Thank you for your time.
to the.
Thank you,
And
sir.
thank you, because
Yeah.
if it wasn't for your actions, we wouldn't have recognized the shortfalls in our ordinance. And that's what
department. We always appreciate citizen input, that's why we're here.
And should this happen again tomorrow night?
Well, I can.
On
All
my
I've had one since.
Mr. Rhodes, I understand you said you have electronic
Yes, we got
communication?
a complaint in. This is from Christine Gruber, 3927 St. Lawrence Avenue. I'm just gonna go up what this is in here, so it might be like further. 3927 St. Lawrence Avenue. Okay, what can we do about the excess noise and traffic issues associated with the stadium? What are the time limits with noise and lights? On 9:30 at approximately 7:20 p.m., they had portable lights shining on the north side of the field that ultimately shined across the street into my front window. Light up all the homes. Mike Fritz didn't seem to see an issue while sitting on his porch, but I had a glare on my computer screen sitting at my desk trying to finish my work. If that was occurring hundreds of feet from the stadium, what kind of issue was causing to cars driving by? I walked over and asked them to take them down. They said they would later. On weeknights and weekends, traffic is increased with no enforcement. Patrons are loud and honking horns, speeding in and out of the stadium. Can I have some peace and quiet? No respect to the residents. I also understand kids' events will be going on, but the noise level is too much. I also again understand side streets are public, but patrons park over here and take up 2 spots. Then we have nowhere to park. If they directed parking, they would be able to utilize their space better. They have adequate space to accommodate events.
Okay,
End of.
those lights are currently on now. My theory is they have light towers there, portable light towers.
Mhm.
They're trying to illuminate the parking area between the avenue and the stadium. And they are bright. And she is correct. She never talked to me about it. I was sitting on my porch. I heard her make a comment about it. It is temporary. It's just like the football games. I'd be more concerned about the traffic. And there's been a lot of close calls there on any given night when the events leave. Because when people want to leave, they want to leave. The lights, again, it's temporary. Yeah.
I drove by the other night and they were on, they are bright and.
Yeah, they're bright.
And I was, so did this.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they could put them.
Yeah, reposition them.
Well, they should put them up.
Parallel,
They should put them up close to the avenue, shining down
Yeah,
on the
the
park.
parking lot.
or showing them parallel to the other.
Yes, right.
Well, parallel, you're still gonna get light.
But it'll be going.
You'll blind the traffic east and west.
Yeah, if
I mean,
you would
maybe
shine
there's a way
them,
to
have them
shield
along
this
the avenue,
and
you're
then-
shining toward the parking areas.
Because they're down next to the track.
Okay.
So they're shining almost that if you were standing up in the parking lot, yeah, they're street level.
Okay.
And they are very bright. There is no doubt about it. I could write a book on my porch. That's how bright they are, and I'd struggle to see it. I don't know if it's worthy of a complaint, how long it's gonna last, I don't know,
I can make contact to the,
but they are,
Yeah, we can ask about that. And as far
I'm
as,
gonna have to contact them because I didn't even know they were using portable lights and they.
there's probably 6 cones on each one, so that's 12. They're bright.
We do have a light.
Yes.
Again, if they brought them up on the inside of the fence and even aimed them down on the parking area, kind of, so they're not on eye level with their
Yeah.
by 62, it would probably be a kinder light to the residents, Parking hasn't been an issue since Berks Catholic. kind of moved out, so to speak. And
Do you know what age group was having the function? Is it the
they
high
have
school?
all kinds. They had a little midget football over there,
Okay,
soccer practices on both fields on the side of the cell tower. So it's multi-purpose.
Lacrosse, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
But a lot of the other stuff has really kind of been subdued since, I guess other schools, I guess, pay to use the facility now for practice. So, yeah, lighting, if it, long-term, it could be an issue, and it could be disturbing and distracting for drivers on the avenue.
If I recall, the ordinance does say you can't allow the light to penetrate into other properties, that there had to be a shield or something.
That is correct, there is a limited.
Because I remember reviewing plans, if they were gonna put light in their parking lots.
If they're on when I go home, I'll take a picture from my front porch and see that. So she does have a valid concern, but she never mentioned to me.
Okay, well, that's what we have from.
Maybe she took this as,
As far as the noise.
It's a stadium.
you hear the whistle,
Well,
you might hear a whistle.
but 10 PM is.
is,
They don't go that long,
I say her complaint was 7:20 PM.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Like I said, when I left to come up here, those lights were on, and they are bright. Yeah, maybe make contact with them, say they're gonna have to reposition them.
probably the Diocese of Allentown, because it looks like they're,
That's
it's
the only
moved,
property.
it's who owns the property,
Yeah.
and they moved away from it being high school stadium to being a Catholic Youth League.
Yeah.
Okay,
Type use, so who is operating that other than the diocese? I don't
yeah, I
know.
mean, I would say direct the correspondence to the real estate office at the diocese. And then they'll direct it to the right place, either within the diocese or locally.
But there's been nobody parking, years ago, they used to park on Trout or Van, because they didn't want to deal with waiting to get out of the stadium. People have already parked, our right of way shut, they just pull in park. And
We used
so-
to hire police to direct traffic after Berks Catholic. Well, that place was
Central.
something, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Back in the day, it was-
Back
Yeah,
in the
right,
day.
right.
was Central City.
Berks then.
Well, it's Vince Szymanski Stadium, which I can hardly.
And that's all for the online. petitions and comments.
All right, very good. All right, Borough Engineers report.
Okay, the only activity we had this past month has to do with 3001 Brookfield Avenue. Nothing's been submitted to SDE for our review, but some zoning application was submitted, so I will let Allison go to you in on that.
The gentleman who is working on plans to rehab the entire property would like to be able to get a second tenant in and earning some revenue. They submitted a plan. I had talked to the property owner and said the plan needed to be corrected. It did not meet our requirements for a parking plan, because you can't count a space that has a light pole blocking most of it. You can't count a space that has dumpsters in it. And so we went, and he and I counted together what their legitimate number of spaces are, how many parking spaces they would need for the two uses, and what that left him in size for his second unit to open without having to go to the zoning hearing board. So he was going to work with maybe creating a false wall inside to make the space compliant so that he could get somebody in there. And I said, the other thing is you have to make sure all the exterior lighting was working, and that if there were any issues that came up for entry and exit into the parking lot with traffic, that we would be visiting the HOP sooner rather than later. And he has yet to get back to me with those plans.
Is this the Diane's Pet Center building?
It is the section where Diane's, between what was Diane's Pet Center before it expanded and the clothing store. It's the little unit in the center that had been made. And he wants to get that, he wants to renovate it and then get somebody in there. Because to utilize the whole property, he's looking at putting an elevator in addition to about 200,000 of improvements just in the rear to do stormwater and parking and everything else, plus compliance with the HOP for both roadways. And while I explained to him that decisions are not supposed to be made because of finance, that I did understand that we would work with it within the confines of the zoning ordinance, which is why I said to him, he had to come back with a plan that showed the space to the limit that there was parking available.
What's the end game?
He plans to configure to where he can get as many parking spaces in the front and the back as he can and be compliant with the zoning and increase the number of retail spaces. He asked about doing something in the basement like storage, and I said, that's not an allowable use. You would have to go to the zoning hearing board for that. And he may want to, he can do retail if he has the parking spaces. He could do retail in the bottom and in the top. It's all on the number of parking spaces he can generate. Now, I said, we also work with people on hours of operation. So if your hours of operation for this business is only 3 days a week, you can have some kind of extended hours for the other business.
Credit goes back.
Yeah, so we're trying to work with them within the confines of what
What's reasonable?
we're allowed as zoning officers to approve before it has to go to the zoning hearing board.
He will need at least one handicap parking space.
And he does understand that, and that it does not, and it does not count towards the total number of parking spaces. Yeah.
Anything else, Doc?
Only other item is Wolf Bleaching and Dye property. The planning commission meeting scheduled for, I believe this is on November 17th now. So,
Yeah, we didn't think anybody wanted to meet the day before Thanksgiving.
I do have a conflict, but I'm at
It's informational only. There's really no decision-making coming from that meeting. They're going to run ideas.
It's gonna be similar to the last one. that we
Yeah,
had.
different person.
But-
Yeah, and we kind of said, this is your one.
Yeah. I was there earlier.
And after that, you need to submit plans and something for there to be a review and for planning to address, because just hearing ideas back and forth. I guess unless we feed the planning commission, maybe.
Unless you have any other questions from our report, that's all I have.
Any questions? Our solicitors report.
Okay, well, you have 4 resolutions that are covered elsewhere in the agenda. And also I see that under old business, you have the discussion of the Berks Nature Conservation Easement Agreement. We did have a meeting here 2 weeks ago with Warren, Bob, myself, and Larry Lloyd from Berks Nature. I'd like to defer discussion of that until next month, so that Bob can join us in the conversation as far as certain revisions that might be needed to the easement agreement to bring it up to date and make sure that it's in our mutual interests.
Yeah, during the meeting, there were several things that Parks Nature
Yeah.
agreed to that we could make some some changes to it.
Right, yeah, but Bob wanted to discuss that, so I think we can defer discussion until the November
Yeah,
meeting on
he's
that.
present, sure. No problem.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
I have a brief report this evening. The September police chief's report discloses criminal offenses and arrests remain steady. Borough use of police calls continued at 15% of all calls by the Central Berks Regional Police for the 5 municipalities it serves. So off record here, we're maintaining status quo. Our Pennsylvania Commonwealth Senate has passed Senate Bill 419 that would allow municipal police across Pennsylvania to use radar guns for speed enforcement. The bill is now in the House of Representatives Transportation Committee for consideration. Wish you all to stay well, safe, well, and let's try it again. Wish you all to stay safe and be well. All right.
Does Chief have a position on the radar? Does he?
I have not discussed it with him. I'm sure he does.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Borough Zoning Code Enforcement Officer report.
There's several letters that need to go out. There were some door tags done for walkability along St. Lawrence Avenue and other streets. Trying to think of them all. It's been a busy month. I have a lot of code enforcement letters to write. That's key after the other stuff that's on the agenda to get done.
All right, Public Works. Taking sewer streets going.
I got some stuff. I'll start with the easy one. So we had a battery backup battery from Telco, the enhancement for more batteries in the cabinet boxes. Those were just installed, so now all of our signals have been upgraded up to 16 to 20 hour run times if you have an electric failure. We also just ran through crack sealing in Borough for last week, so if you see me out there, we saw no parking signs. That's now completed, so that should be done. No more parking signs.
And a fine artistic job has been done.
And then we'll get to the sewer project. So last month, we had agreed up to $100,000 in spending for the sewer rehabilitation project through Mr. Rehab. So far from what they've submitted, we haven't gone through all the submittal yet. We're still only through half of the second submittal, which is the last one. We would be way over the $100,000 threshold for a lot of the repairs that they're suggesting to do. Just off of what they consider priority one, which is urgent, we're somewhere around $141,000, and that's suggested repairs by them. And that does not include point repairs.
And mention how much we've spent for heavy cleaning.
Oh, yeah, so during the original contract, we had for them to come out jet and inspect the system. We ran into a lot of roots, a lot of heavy cleaning that needed to be done, which required us to spend about $18,000 more than originally projected. More than that. 40.
I think so, between the two bills, first bill and second bill.
$20,000
It was 60 some man hours, hours of heavy cleaning.
Wasn't there, last month, wasn't there original quote approximately $130,000?
So we just approved, their original quote for cleaning and televising, I think was like 48.
And we, that did not, because heavy cleaning, they're not gonna know until they get to it. And then we had manhole inspections on top of.
Yeah.
But I thought their preliminary estimate was 130, we just agreed to 100.
So,
For relining.
yeah, so this is the original quote we'd gotten, included a lining stretch up on Marywood that we knew we had to do. But we took that out of the contract and we just went with cleaning and televising the whole system to see if we needed to add anything else in.
So we haven't.
So 130 came back down to 48, but now with what they found, just lining alone, we're at 140. So if council would like to spend more money on the sewer system, or if we want to kind of beat out what we want to focus on as far as the $100,000 budget.
Is all the cleaning complete?
Yeah, everything's done. We have no more, our system should be as clean as it's gonna get,
Currently,
yes.
You may want to consider putting it out for public bid for the pump repairs. We've done that in Hamburg, and we found that using coal stars is a good way to go. But I think that everyone's hungry these days.
more competitive.
It becomes more competitive. Something that just to
We
consider.
were discussing it
Yeah, that's-
earlier because once we hit the magnitude of the repairs.
and like I said, we're not completely through the total submittal yet, so priority one stuff, which is cracks, roots, and I, you know, we could be looking at 200,000 right there, that still doesn't include point repair and manhole lines.
Right.
200,000 on top of that.
No, 200,000 just for priority one stuff, which is like urgent, get done as soon as possible.
Does that include the current contract?
And that has relining or not?
We,
Is there relining in there?
So the original money we spent was just cleaning and televising, that's done and paid.
and that was 40, 50, 60, 70, 81,300.
Yeah, that was just system maintenance.
Right.
Now, this additional money will be for lining, manhole repairs where the line sections are, lateral cutouts,
So we didn't use any of that 100,000 that was
originally,
authorized.
yeah.
So what ends up happening is as we put the numbers up there, we then have to decide whether we go out and search for a loan, which interest rates are rather favorable right now. There is ARPA money that can be used for sewer projects. That's a conversation that council will have to have. Where we get the best bang for our buck in using that. We're still digesting
Yeah.
what we're getting back in reports and what is popping up as priority.
We'll have a better handle on it in November.
Yeah, now that the question becomes, do we pull the trigger on getting them to do any of the work that they have, a 2-week block?
Yeah, so they have November 29th to December 13th lockout already in their system if we want to use them straight through CoStars.
And that could be a portion that might be
So-
immediate.
Yeah, so that I think it's a 2-week block is the $100,000 original authorization, which gave us 2,500 linear foot of line plus laterals. So, but if we start climbing above that, there was no manhole line, that was just straight.
But the additional repairs are upwards of $200,000.
Oh, so it's
Say we-
200,000 plus.
If we don't have pricing on point repair, that's stuff where they go in and do just a section of pipe. Like we have an area on an already lined section on Holy Turnpike Road that has iron on it, somehow the liner failed.
Well, that liner is the original liner that was put in place in the system, and I'm not even sure exactly when that occurred. It may have been as early as in the 80s.
Is there anything on there that's dire?
Nothing like urgent, but.
Well, there's stuff that is in really poor condition, but
Say on St. Lawrence Avenue, we had a shattered pipe because they tried to get a extruded pipe out that was in the way. That's there. We have other areas where roots are gonna build their way back in. St. Lawrence Avenue at Levan Street, we just had roots cut out of there 2 years ago and they were already 90% blocking the system.
I have to go to Ty's point that, things, people are hungry, even the busy ones, and it is really competitive, and
well, no, when we started jumping up in price like this, and then it's whether we want to take a small portion of what we were as top priority or the lining. I don't know how competitive just the lining part is versus the other stuff that
Well,
is not.
it can be set up to have a price for your manhole and a price for your line.
Yeah,
So, and then if
you can break it down line.
and then, the first year you can just do the pipe, and in the second year you can do the manholes. And you can also say, okay, I'm gonna do this in a 5-year period, so I'm gonna do 2,500 legal feet of pipe and manifolds per year.
We tend to go out and borrow the money and just get the whole thing done.
But,
That- To me, it's just because till you go through the bidding process on multiple levels, it's all the administrative expenses start that up after all, so it's like, yeah.
but,
A bigger project, you'll get better.
Yeah.
competitive prices.
yeah, you can get some people out of New Jersey, Delaware, and in New York.
Yeah, we
who
had
do
people out of
just this.
Delaware.
And,
And
and,
from New Jersey. Tri-state grouting was Delaware, Bear, Delaware, you forgot about that one.
I hope they were from New Jersey.
Have you seen the
That's
change
where
in
our
the pricing?
municipal station was.
Their costs going up.
Co-stars, I haven't really. Because we don't go pull those.
Yeah, so I believe the first time we had it quoted out just for that small 700-foot section, I think it was somewhere around $39 linear foot for installed line. With a $100,000 quote, it came down to 35.
Makes sense.
So according to him, the CoStar's quote is they have to charge out $19.15 for the liner material, and then they just end up billing out installation costs. So that's where they end up shaving costs. I'm not sure if you've seen better than $35 in larger projects.
I'll have to look and see what I had a year and a half ago. And I can give you that information, but I will tell you this, if you're gonna go out for bids, then it's gonna be a couple months before the work is done.
Yeah.
So it's not
That's where
something
I'm
you're.
going with that, with the timeframe that, is there anything dire that we have to fit inside that
There's
opportunity there?
some stuff that it just depends on what's in bad condition and what stays. And if it's co-stars and we do part of it, and I don't even know what, in 2 weeks, they can do 100,000 or more, is that,
Yeah, that's what they have blocked out so far.
okay.
I'll take a look at the last set of bids I got for this type of work and show you the low bid versus the high bid and what results. So, and that'll kind of give you an idea. So,
I mean, right now, their projected time frame for the work would be after November council meeting anyway, so we could put them on a holding pattern. Get to that
Yeah, but
meeting.
you
But they're
can't,
gonna wanna fill that slot.
Slot.
Yeah.
you can't hold them too
Yeah.
long. That's why if there's anything identified as needing immediate,
Do you want authorization?
if you have any pipes that are collapsing, I go ahead and get those fixed.
Say, luckily, we're not there, we don't have that.
The lining you spoke of, that was one of the original contracts, right? The 2,500 foot of lining that you talked about, or was that done?
Yeah.
That was the original, last month we had authorized to spend up to 100,000.
And what was, you mentioned the lining of that, something up on Marywood?
So yeah, originally when we went out to do this project, we had a sanitary sewer overflow in Marywood, it was near Warren's house, it's in a wooded section where sewer runs through the woods. And we experienced an overflow that we had rain and then we had snow melt, and it pushed through someone's lateral because one of our lines got backed up. So we just had that in there because we knew it needed to get done.
And that has been taken care of?
That is not, we pulled that out to do the whole televised to see if anything else would get added on.
Did they break, do you have a projected cost on just repairing that? Or don't they break it down like that?
I broke that down, so roughly 37,000.
which would be at the higher price because it's.
Yeah, we had
a small.
Yeah, we were doing a break, yeah, we broke stuff out of it
So untouched, we run the risk of that happening again.
sooner than later.
You also mentioned a section that had a pipe or something that was intruding through the pipe.
So St. Lawrence Avenue, we had a lot of intruding taps during their search and televised, so they ended up cutting a lot of those out, but there's still some that do exist. They tried to get rid of one on St. Lawrence Avenue, and when they got the tap out, the pipe shattered. So there's a shattered pipe on St. Lawrence
I
Avenue.
would say you need to do that now.
Yeah,
So,
before collapse.
so and if you're gonna line a section of pipe, I'd go for manhole. That would be my recommendation.
And this work would fall into that $100,000.
That could.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to go that route and just do 100,000 go with the original authorization and just pick out.
Well, looking at those two separate projects, the tap that collapsed and then that area up in the woods, the overflow.
So I can tell you, I think that section is a shorter run because we have multiple mans, same what's happening. You'd be well below the 100,000, you'd probably fall somewhere around 55, 60. So if you want to go.
Just for St. Lawrence?
No.
No.
Really, very good in St. Lawrence. So
It's something about-
it's already authorized to spend $100,000 and we have a lot of priority kind of projects. Why don't we go ahead and get that done since they already have the time blocked out for us? And then,
And you mentioned something about Lake Turnpike Road as well.
Yeah, we have a liner that somehow failed and now there's water that's pushing through it. So it's iron.
We have to figure out how that gets.
So they can do that. They said they would do a point repair on that section that would cost $2,000.
What about the rest of that line? Is it in repair?
Did not come back up as an issue. They didn't have any.
Then I would go ahead and just do that as part of it.
Yeah.
And because you're not gonna line it anyways. So might as well just get it done and get it finished up.
So we're going ahead with 3 separate issues, right?
Well, that we've identified
Yeah, so far.
that was been like so far, there's already authorization from last month for up to $100,000. So,
And you can do those under that 100,000.
right,
I would recommend that you let Mr. Rehab go ahead and do their televising for your whole system.
They did.
they did.
That's
done.
Yeah, that's all done.
Yeah,
that's
now
all
it's all in the process of reviewing everything that they're going through and have identified. I mean, the list is,
And
and we just got it.
Yeah, and then what I would do at this point, I would figure out which is your most priority, your next one, and then your next one, and you may want to.
I think
If you want to do it all at once, that's fine, but if you want
Well,
to do
we can do what we have there and then, because we're gonna have to do something about money. We don't have an unlimited supply and
it. Yeah, I know.
I would say those 3 projects are certainly worth taking action on and getting that done.
But do we want, since council authorized $100,000 last month for this kind of work, if they're still going through the reports from Mr. Rehab, let that stand, and if we find up to that amount of priority repairs, go ahead and get those done.
Yeah, because you can look and see that that's 319, but that, what did I say, 80,000 is after.
Yeah, it comes out of that already.
Comes out.
So you have to,
Yeah.
yeah. And we have a quarterly sewer bill. So,
Dave, what was your point? Just get what we can get done for the 100,000?
Right, that's what is that
Is
the,
that fair?
council's feeling that,
And then we'll discuss the rest.
and discuss the rest, once everything else has been identified.
Yeah, because I would realistically, if you put everything together, you're probably north of 350 by the time you put all the point repairs together.
Right, so we do that 100,000 chunk already, now we're down to 250, and that's when we'll put it out to bid and secure financing like we had done with the previous project. But we have the 100,000 already authorized, and sure, we probably find,
So the list is large, but
yeah, up to 100,000 of things that should be done sooner than later. Is that council good with that approach?
Yeah, because if we have that, if anything else is identified, it probably can be added in November if we need to
yeah,
address it.
anything's.
Right.
Major,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
if you tacked everything on after you did the Marywood section and the shattered pipe part, you would probably
Okay,
fall below the 100,000.
right, okay. Sound good? We're in agreement?
That completes my.
Very good, thank you. Finance, just a reminder, budget meeting Tuesday, November 9th, 10 a.m.
That's on the reminders.
Okay, well,
Um,
since it fell under finance. And I happen to just see it over here.
The federal government in its infinite wisdom decided that the ARPA funds reporting, the original scope was the first report would have been due October 1st. And they have decided to change that reporting to April 30th and all funds expended through March 31st of 2022.
Well, they haven't come down with final regulations yet. They're expected, I think, in December.
That's why they extended it.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna try, we wanna do this, so. go
My
ahead.
goodness, probably still people trying to get their money.
And for a manager, anything to add?
Not at this point.
All right, committee reports, emergency management, nothing to report, library. Here, yeah, we'll try that again. Municipal lands, nothing to report.
Nothing new.
Recreation, nothing to report. Planning commission, if I remember correctly, November 17th. November 17th.
7:30.
Zoning hearing board. anything to
Nothing.
report? Nothing? Okay. All right, old business. Motion to adopt resolution 856, 2021, supporting the Pennsylvania Commission semi-quincentennial. Here somewhere.
With no funds,
No funding attached.
just
Just support.
heartfelt support.
Court, we've got your back. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 856, 2021, supporting the Pennsylvania Commission of the United States semi-quincentennial?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, all those in favor, give their consent by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Guys have it, so ordered.
Not ready, B is not.
Yeah, I'm working on a
Okay.
form of an ordinance.
Okay. So we'll.
Yeah, I'm
continue
looking
that.
for others that will work for most Berks municipalities,
Okay.
because the one that is being used as a prototype by the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs is Revenue Townships, which is really too complex.
We don't even need 50% of the.
Right, no, I mean, Revenue Township is much larger and
Mhm.
has far more commercial uses,
Oh, yeah.
institutional uses, and different topography.
Okay, and we had discussed about tabling the Berks Nature Traffic Conservation
let's
easement agreement
carry
next
that
month,
November.
and everyone's available to discuss it. Motion to adopt resolution 854, 2021, extension of 2019 fire service agreement.
Both fire companies agreed to the 4-year option 4-year.
And the fire tax rate would increase to 0.68 now.
That's a 0.02 increase.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution 854, 2021, exercising year 4 of the 2019 RFP with an increase of the millage rate to 0.68, 0.02 increase over the previous.
Also moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Guys have it, so ordered.
You don't need E because
Yep.
we're good on that.
All right, new business, motion to distribute foreign fire insurance funds. We were allocated $8,191.84 from the Volunteer Fire Relief Association.
Split is 50/50.
Splits
for the-
50/50, $4,095.92 each department. Nobody gets the extra penny this year, is it?
No, it's even
It's an
numbers.
even number of pennies, very good. That was always a discussion. Who got the penny last year? So I have a motion to distribute the foreign fire monies. So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, all those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? You guys have it, so ordered. Motion to adopt resolution 855, 2021, intermunicipal agreement for county 911 dispatching services.
We received a letter with the update of what they were going to charge us next year in 911 fees, which was a 5.6% increase. Or we could sign the agreement with the county that they brilliantly came up with, which would freeze the expenses in 2022 to 2021 price. And then it's going to be an annual cost of living increase based off of the Northeast urban cost of,
Yeah.
cost of living. It should be in the county taxes, but they have not chosen to go in that direction, which would be the fairest for all the residents. So our choice is to go with the county because there is no other dispatching service available in Berks County.
Unless we start our own.
I
We
don't,
don't want to do that.
I don't think so.
Radios are good. All right, do I have a motion to adopt resolution 855/2021, entering into the intergovernmental agreement with the county of Berks, provide consolidated dispatching services to the Borough of St. Lawrence.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it, so ordered. Any discussion on the new open burning ordinance to replace ordinance 388? We discussed that.
Yeah, it pretty much has everything. The one big question that I had in it is what time does anybody think it's reasonable to allow somebody to have their fire pit burning until,
Why don't we couple that with the noise?
well, because I think that a lot of people are still out there after 11 o'clock at night. I have neighbors who do it. I have neighbors, one that's related, here's one that's in front. Noise ordinance is still in effect.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, as long as it's attended, do we care if they're out at 2 AM, being quiet, mellowing out around a fire pit?
Right, they're on their own property,
Yeah,
as long as they're not disturbing anybody.
And,
And the main thing is that it be attended by a responsible individual.
yeah, so I don't know that we need to really put a timer into effect.
You don't,
I wouldn't.
no
put a
time limit?
I wouldn't put a time limit into effect. I mean, the limits need to be really on leaving the conduct Mr. Becker was talking about, leaving.
Okay.
leaving that
And
attended.
an open
that's
burn
fine.
should not be left unattended at any time.
Right. Yeah, so it's the behavior, not the time.
Yeah. As long as you're not being loud, obnoxious, you know.
And as soon as I get it done, I will email it out to everybody so you can look through it. It's grown to 4 pages. Well,
Are you going to want it advertised for November?
No.
Or are we talking about December?
I'm talking December because I think it really,
Well,
it
it's the
should,
timeline you laid out earlier.
Right.
yeah,
Okay. All right, so yeah, so I can review it once. I
Yeah.
have it.
Motion to amend resolution 853/2021, the Halloween curfew, extend ending date to November 1st, 2021 at 0600 hours, at 6 AM, if you're not.
otherwise it would have ended at midnight
Right.
on October 31st. And it's just a cleaner to end it at 6 AM the next day.
Said motion. Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt amended resolution 853/2021, extending the Halloween curfew to November 1, 2021 at 0600. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Ayes have it, so ordered. All right, discussion, vulgar political opinion signs.
This I requested. I have found a couple of them driving around nearby here.
Any in the borough?
Not yet in the borough. And I discussed this briefly with Joan and Bob after our meeting with First Nature. It is political, so language, political statements, you have more freedom, I'll say, with political statements in the type of language you can use or display. But with a little discussion with Bob, he said maybe there's another way of controlling signs where we don't necessarily separate political signs. If we do it in agreement with the Supreme Court decisions and stuff, but maybe timing of how long signs can be up. But there's, if you go online and you go to Amazon and you put the F word and Biden, you get a whole array of flags that are available to purchase.
I haven't seen these signs within the store, I've seen them other places. And the problem with anything that regulates political speech is it does enjoy a wide protection by the First Amendment, as does philosophical and religious speech.
Right.
The courts are also very hesitant to declare words off limits, including the F word, as we've seen in a number of cases, including the case involving a student in a school in Schuylkill County who had a profanity-laced rant against the school on her personal social media page. So I think that courts give pretty broad leeway that way. You can regulate signs in a manner that is content neutral. You can regulate time, place, and manner of signs as long as it is content neutral. Everyone is free to post political signs. I mean, for example, right now, we're within 30 days of the municipal election for certain statewide judicial races. You can put candidate signs on your own property. That's not something that could be regulated, but you can't put them in a way that blocks the view of traffic. To give one example, you can require that campaign signs be removed within a certain number of days after the election. But
only on public property. Right?
That's on public property, but also you can't have dilapidated signs on private property either, as a matter of property maintenance. As far as signs that express a viewpoint, it would be very difficult to require that signs that are against one individual or another, or make a profane reference to one or the other political figure be removed, but allow someone, I mean, across the way there is someone who posts Bible verses on a sign on their lawn. I don't know if they do that anymore, I don't know if they're still there, but for a time there was someone posted Bible verses on a sign. So it would be very difficult to regulate one but not the other. Any regulation of signs does need to be content neutral. And I think that to deem a certain message to be vulgar, it's possible you could defend it in court, but it's also very more likely than not that it would be found to be protected by the First Amendment.
What our current sign ordinance basically is size and that type of.
Our sign ordinance needs a massive overhaul. But it's zoning, so that has to go through all the steps that zoning has to do.
Right, but there are temporary signs that are allowed, for example, for elections and on private residential property.
Actually, we exempt political signs
Right.
from our zoning ordinance enforcement. There's a whole list.
Right, political and religious
It's just-
signs, like, for example, if your church has a sign saying services at a certain time, or, a church fundraiser at a certain time, that is most likely to be exempted. That's generally in the list. I can show you an example of a sign ordinance that's up to date and in line with the current state of the law on regulation of signs from the Third Circuit. We'd like to see a prototype of something that I think is updated on that. It wouldn't necessarily prevent the signs and flags that you're talking about, but at least it could prevent an unsafe or unsightly display. The free speech protects views we like and views we don't like.
Yeah, my concern was that I'd hate to see the borough all of a sudden you drive down St. Lawrence Avenue and you see half a dozen of these signs.
You're gonna find out if they're not blocking traffic views.
I just,
There's really nothing we can do.
my question was, is there anything we can do? And here's what the question is.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, I think you can have certain limits on the placement of signs. I think they can be put in a less obtrusive location. But as far as the content, I mean, if, for example, it portrayed something of an explicit nature, then you get into the obscenity laws. But I don't think just the F word in and of itself is considered obscene anymore in court decisions.
Okay.
Definitions are one of the things that are.
All right, any general comments? Items of interest to council? All right, public meetings, next planning commission meeting, November 7th at 7:30 PM here at the Borough Hall. 17th, did I say 7th? Okay. November 17th, I said correctly. The budget meeting, November 9th at 10 AM here at the Borough Hall. Next council meeting will be November 11th at 7:30 PM here at Borough Hall. And just a reminder, reorganization, January 3rd, 2022, with the monthly council meeting to follow.
What time, 7 or 7:30?
At 7:30. We don't usually
It doesn't
start.
take that long.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Yeah, so-
Well, the reason I'm asking is it's an even number year and
You're in
running
our
further and on.
department, and I'm kind of in charge of making sure the department that we get all these meetings covered.
We didn't adjourn yet, did we?
We didn't adjourn. So we're going to actually,
Well, it's just discussion as
Yeah,
to,
there's no official.
as to what anybody might want. Bob thought maybe like 15 minutes before the start of council meeting, we could have a little
dedication.
dedication
plaque.
for the plaque.
You want? I might reach out to Sergeant Picanello, SPD.
He already reached out to us,
He
looking for it.
he was concerned that the plaque was stolen.
No, but I'm saying.
Couldn't find it.
He's also a,
And apparently Central Works talked about what plaque.
Oh, geez.
Sergeant Picanello is also a Marine Corps reserves, and I believe he's I believe he's either a master sergeant.
I think
We
that-
could ask
Master
him if he
Sergeant.
wanted to
He
come.
could come and make, say, a few brief words.
This might sound a really odd question. Is there anybody on that board?
Still alive?
Yes.
I don't.
I know there's family members, but. I don't
Yeah,
know if
if you
they
have
know
members,
this
yeah,
before.
Maybe reach out and let
The
them know.
one person that we will reach out to is our Chris, who paid to have.
Yes,
us play.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
You said you will not?
And this
Will.
will-
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn?
Moving to second to adjourn, all those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Guys have it, we stand adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.